to Boss Up Academy, where you can get your real estate and business updates. We are on YouTube, Facebook, as well as IG and Twitter. Today we have Melissa with us. Hi, Melissa.
Hello. Hello, hello,
Melissa,
hello.
if you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so I am Melissa Lamb, originally from Wilmington, North Carolina, currently residing in Charlotte. I am the owner of Elite Bodies of Work. I am a post-op care specialist, meaning that after people have plastic surgery, I'm the person they come to see for all of their contouring, shaping, and molding, and their lymphatic drainage massages.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break while Facebook builds our audience, and we'll be right back. Okay, we back with Miss Melissa. So, Melissa, tell us, how did you get into the post-op world?
Okay, so originally, when I first started, well, before I started with that, I was doing non-surgical body contouring. And after about three women asked me, hey, I've had some surgery. Can you help me out? And I didn't really know enough about it. I did some research. And initially, I was going to move to Miami and open a recovery house. But once I got down there and I was talking to the women in my class and hearing their stories about how their aftercare was, it woke my inner therapist back up. So from there, I started doing research and took my non-surgical techniques and incorporated Dr. Vatter's method of manual lymphatic drainage, as well as some Colombian techniques, some techniques from Santo Domingo, all over Florida, techniques from Texas, California, and various other places, and made it my own. And from there, it's just been up. Um, One of Charlotte's premier therapists and a forever student. So no matter how much I've learned, there's always more to be learned. So you know how they always say it's good for people to find their niche, like, the thing that they can wake up and do every day and never get tired of it. I found my thing. So helping people feel better, not just physically, but mentally, does it for me. It's exciting because all day long, I'm dealing with people in different phases of recovery, different ages, different surgeons, different procedures, men, women, like anyone that you can think of. So it's really exciting to finally have found what I'm here to do.
So, did you start out on your own, or did you start out in an office at someone else's office, or have you been in your own business the entire time?
Well, it's always just been me. When I first started, shout out to Honey Blossom Hair Salon. That was my first place. I had a room in her hair salon. And it's funny because on the door it said growth. And that was the first place I was in. And the next place was Sandman's gym. Shout out to Sandman too. So then from there, I went to Anthony Michael's hair studios. Shout out to David. Thank you. And then I wound up where I'm at now. So it's always been me as a standalone, but I would rent spaces in different places. And it was crazy because everywhere I went to, like the second I moved in, I always felt like I had already outgrown the space, but it was like, okay, so what now, Melissa? So the space I'm in now, I feel like it's everything that I need. I have a store in the front room, space for two therapists, and my treatment room. And one of the rooms that's going to be for a new therapist is actually my sauna room. So it's exciting to have watched everything grow and fall into place organically. Like it was never forced. And I always just knew there was more coming my way. It was just a matter of me getting there. So I just paced myself because normally I'm very impatient with myself. But I had to say, hey, slow down, take your time. That way you don't make mistakes. Get it right.
So, okay, so I'm understanding you correct. You've just been where you kind of just been in your own studio the entire time as you went from
Mhm.
place to place, and then now you've grown your business so that you are in a actual building facility where you're not in a studio anymore, but you're actually in your own facility, your own space, right? And now are able to provide space to other therapists.
Exactly. So I went from one individual room to a 5 room spa.
Okay. So, how did so when you started talking to these different people and seeing that, hey, this is a lucrative niche, basically, because a lot of people are smashing and grabbing. They're trying to get everything that's coming to them. I just need to make money.
Mhm.
So, how did you just go into your path of its own with just post-op and not doing regular massages, other massages? How did you find that lane?
Well, initially I started doing regular massage therapy, and I knew I liked it and I love making people feel better, but I was working really hard with my hands, and it was just like I was burning myself out. So from there, I started modeling in like 2008, 2009. And the body contouring always interested me because I saw how, you could reshape people. And these are people who hadn't had surgery. So as long as someone has fluid and scar tissue and adhesions and knots, it can all be reshaped to a certain extent, as long as they're willing to be consistent. But a lot of people were inconsistent. Not all, but a good portion of it. So it got a little frustrating. So then once I learned about the post-op world and realized that, these people look at surgery as an easy way out, but they don't understand the other side of things. Like, it's not the easy way out. They don't see the swelling, they don't see the bruising, the things that are not being discussed. So, people think they're going to come off that table snatched. No, you're going to come off that table swollen. So your aftercare is going to be one of the determined factors in how your recovery actually goes. So when people see women in the streets and they're like, oh gosh, she had surgery, that was just so easy, they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears and the mental anguish that goes into it sometimes for a lot of people. So for me to be a part of the recovery, to see people go from really upset and bothered about what they're looking like to happy, like, okay, this is what I want it to look like. I'm happy about this. Like, women who were self-conscious about something who are now able to put their clothes on or take their clothes off and be happy with what they see. I wish more people would sit down and really be mindful of things they say to people, because people say some really nasty, hateful things to people who they know nothing about.
So, okay, so and people, it's not only a physical thing for you, but you're actually having to help people with their confidence and training their mind when people are coming at them with different things. So, how
Absolutely.
did you start picking up more and more clients so that you could be in this lane of your own?
Honestly, the work started speaking for itself. Now, I need to do a better job with my social media. I'm working on that now. I have an in-office assistant. Finally, she'll be in office with me. I had a virtual assistant. She was amazing, but it's some things that have to be taken care of in the office. But word of mouth was the thing that did it for me. Like the pictures that I did post, people would think some of them were Photoshop. So it was amazing to me that, something that I did with my hands people would think was Photoshop. So it's a compliment. But one of the main things was when clients would go back to their surgeons for their follow-up visits, and they would be like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Because you don't look like you're a week post-op. You look like you're 3 or 4 weeks post-op. Or look at what your waist is shaped like, and look at how smooth you are, and you're not lumpy and bumpy. And this isn't the garment that you came in. Who is directing you? They're doing a great job. So the clients would go back to their surgeons, and then in turn, the surgeons would request to meet me. So I'm working with a whole lot of the local surgeons, some of the best surgeons in the city. Shout out to them. They know who they are. Well, Dr. Gear, Dr. Beck, Dr. Weston, like just to name a few. So yeah, I genuinely love it because it's just, it speaks for itself, and happy people are going to be your best advertisement, and people know when you're BSing them, and they know when you're genuinely passionate about what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. Business to business referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way, that helps you track more clients than just waiting on one by one or a referral from a client to another client. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people think that other businesses are their competition, but I always try to point out that these other businesses are not your competition, but they're actually could help or make your business at a faster pace through their referral process, so you're able to get larger quantities of customers at a faster pace. So would you say that
Absolutely.
has been a key result for you?
Absolutely. Like, um, this is actually kind of a small industry in Charlotte. It's growing. More people, more licensed massage therapists are entering the industry. And as I meet people, there's people I met that, I need to link back in with. They know who they are. My apologies, I've been busy. But, the people who I refer people to, they refer people to me, and we bounce very well off of each other. I've never viewed anybody as my competition. There's room for everyone. I mean, if you're serious about what you do, I have no issue with referring people to you. Just, I don't want to, I don't want to send somebody to a fly by night person. And that's no offense to anyone, but I take what I do seriously. And the last thing you ever want to do is, refer somebody out and they're like, oh, why'd you send me to this person? Because they did this, this, and this, and it was horrible. And I'm not going to anyone else you sent me to. So, yeah, I mean, I like people who love what they're doing the same way I love what I'm doing.
Right. So I'm glad that you put that, because so many people get, and you said that your social media presence wasn't as strong, and so many people get caught up with, I gotta put stuff, I gotta advertise through social media in order to get clients. But
Mhm.
there are other avenues that still work to this day offline, because remember, your network determines your net worth. And by you connecting with doctors, and I don't think that a lot of people that's doing body contouring or body sculpting are realizing the importance of building relationships with local doctors, and that you don't necessarily
Mhm.
have to be dealing with, everybody's not going to the Dominican Republic, everybody's not
Mhm.
going to Miami, especially when you're trying to fast track a business to get more clientele. And then you can have that walking billboard as far as people go, but the bulk of your people are coming through your local medical world.
And honestly, too, um, I like to make sure that anyone that calls me looking for their aftercare, if they're calling me and other people, I tell them, make sure that you're going to a licensed massage therapist. Um, Early on in your recovery, you need to be going to a licensed massage therapist who understands your lymphatic system. So I always tell them, hey, make sure you're asking if your therapist is a licensed massage therapist that has post-op training, because regular lymphatic massage is different from manual lymphatic drainage massage with your aftercare from plastic surgery. So a lot of surgeons prefer to work with licensed massage therapists because it's two kind of different techniques. It's two very different techniques. Initially, I do the lymphatics, the light touch, but I'm also shaping, molding, and contouring from the very start as well. So I don't use machines early on unless it's the ultrasound machine. And that's just for bruising, fluid, helping to relax some of this firm tissue after surgery. So if your therapist is using a machine, you hear a loud buzzing in your ear, and they weren't directed by the surgeon to do that, I'd be a little nervous. Like, it's certain techniques that to do at certain times, and it's other techniques that it's not time for. So I don't like to just jump into machines. Some people do. That's just not my thing. I prefer to use my hands just because I want to see what phase of recovery your tissue's in, and what I need to do to get you where you want to go.
Now, as far as the business aspect, I heard you say that you got a store up front. So then that is producing additional income for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that way, because we want to talk about monetizing different areas that does not physically require you as a person as add-ons, because a lot of people aren't understanding about having inventory. Some people want to just order body shapers as the person needed, but if you have them on hand, why have you decided to have them on hand rather than just order them on an as to need basis?
Well, because I have some people who didn't come to me for services, but you go from a stage 1 to a stage 2 faha. Some people go from, yeah, some people who, let's say you've had a tummy tuck, you go from the stage 1. Well, sometimes, you need a binder, or you need foams, or you need an ab board, you need backboards, you need um, anything you need. I prefer to have, because there's nothing that's more stressful to me saying, oh, well, I can order it, and you walk out without what you needed. So then, you get desperate and you go and grab some Spanx. That's not what you need. Or you go and grab a compression tank top. That's not what you need. Now you're going to slow down your recovery or mess up your results. So I felt like it would just be smarter for me to have anything that everyone could possibly need, so that I know that my people are taken care of properly. Like, that was one of my biggest fears. When I first started, one of my ladies did it. She said, well, you said I need a stage 2 garment. Do you have one? I was like, oh, yeah, I can order you one. She's like, but I need it now. Like, I'm swollen and I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, God. So 2 days later, I was in Miami in about 5 to 7 different garment stores, looking, trying to figure out, the garments that I felt would be best suited for my clients. So that was the beginning of a whole different phase.
Okay, so not only are you providing garments, but what other things are you providing within your store so that people can get what they need and actually have those things on hand to increase sales?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, I have 4 or 5 different types of ab boards, different backboards. I have the foams for fibrosis, and these are tan colored foams. And then I have the regular foams. I have waist trainers, the surgical bras, the arm compression garments. I'll be offering alterations soon as well. Different types of arnica creams, just anything you can think of, BBL pillows, dry brushes, anything you can think of as far as surgery is concerned, I have in office.
Okay, so that produces additional income, and then you said you about your sauna room, and tell us a little bit about your sauna room and how you set that up. I don't know if it's something happens to the internet or whatever, but
Mhm.
so tell us about your sauna room because you've got that as an additional source of revenue as well.
Okay, so once people reach a certain phase of recovery, I say it about a month, sometimes a month and a half. When I see that they're still holding fluid in certain areas or still a little swollen, I'll work on you first. And then sometimes after that appointment, I'll put you in the sauna. And the purpose of the infrared sauna is to help draw out all those fluids. So a standard sauna, you go and sit in it, it's a dry sauna. This one, you come in and I wrap you up. So I normally put hot cream on the area that we're going to focus on. Then I put saran wrap over that area. Then I put a waist trainer over that area, and you lay either on your stomach or on your back based on the procedure you had. And I have a plastic sheet that I wrap around you, then another sheet, and then I zip the blanket up. And you lay there for about 45 minutes. And it's a good full body sweat, but the areas that I wrapped are more targeted. So you get a more concentrated sweat in those areas. And that has been very productive. Like, to see people come out with, sometimes 2 or 3 inches off of the area that we've been focusing on makes people feel better. And that good sweat is a good detoxifier as well. So it helps to flush out sometimes some of those surgical fluids. Sometimes people still have some of the anesthesia sitting in their tissue, or sometimes they're still feeling some of the effects from, their antibiotics or whatever else they were taking afterwards. So it just is good for the body overall in general.
Okay, so then you have the sauna. Now let's talk about your price structure. Do you just offer single or do you have packages? How do
Mhm.
you do that to additionally monetize yourself so that you can generate more income? Because a lot of people they say, okay, well, you just come in and every session you pay for, or are you able to obtain money in bulk?
Okay, so I prefer people to book packages because after surgery, like let's say you're 2 and 3 days post-op, one massage is not going to do it. That is going to be the very beginning process. Like that may, be the tip of the iceberg as far as breaking down some of that swelling goes. So people normally book packages between 6, 10, and 20. Um, Normally, people wind up doing a package of 10. Then we get to around about massage number 7. They're like, I'm just now coming out of the woods. I know I'm going to need more because I'm really starting to see my shape. I'm really happy about it. And there's other areas I really want to take care of. So let's go ahead and do another package. So it's usually in people's best interest to go ahead and get a package so we can go ahead and get you scheduled for your massages and get everything taken care of.
Okay, so then you're able to collect money in bulk, and
Hmm.
then that way, in turn, you can because a lot of people don't have a lot of capital up front to say, oh, I'm gonna go and furnish a whole store. So
Hmm.
if you're able to sell packages, your service is in advance, then you can use the money that you're getting in bulk to go and fund you for to say your store up front, which is going to in turn bring you more revenue.
Hmm. And also me learning to work on my business credit. So once you get your business credit in order, which I knew nothing about, like I didn't understand utilizing things like Uline and Granger and all these other services to build my score up. So then, when I went to apply for business credit cards, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can give you one. And so that helped with furnishing the store as well. So one hand really washed the other. And that's something that most people don't even think about because we're so busy focusing on our personal credit that we don't realize if we build our business credit that that can be utilized as well. So like you were saying with the packages and all that stuff, the bulk funds, it's allowed me to do more as far as financing everything that we needed in the store. So that's why I say one hand wash the other. So it's just happy. I'm really happy to be in the position to offer the services the way I'm able to offer them now and the things that I have in store as well.
Okay, so offering packages, offering multiple services, offering garments and
Mhm.
different materials that people need within your store, then you're able to bring in several streams of income that will in turn increase your bottom line at the end of the year.
Yes, ma'am.
And now you're duplicating yourself because we talk about duplication. So now
Hmm.
you're duplicating yourself by bringing in other therapists and teaching them the ropes, and that's magnifying your business because a lot of people get caught up in, I don't want to deal with someone else, I don't want to train someone else, right?
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
just going to be self-employed, I'm just going to work with myself. So how do you retrain your mind to know that you cannot go at this alone? You cannot be a solopreneur.
Well, my accountant told me something and it stuck. She said, until your business is working for you, you're working for your business. You're not an entrepreneur, you're an employee. And that stuck. And so when you said the part about duplicating myself, I was always stuck in a mind frame of expectations of myself in others. Like my passion, my drive, my will, the blood, sweat, and tears, all that stuff. I was looking for it in other people. So it was a mistake I was making because, all right, Melissa, it's your business, and people may not come in with the same passion as you because they may not understand things the way you understand them. So when you mentioned the part about teaching, I'm just now coming into that phase because I was fearful, like, oh, what if I bring them in and they're not serious? And this happens and that happens. Well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen regardless. All you can do is make the best of it and learn from whatever, comes along the way, and make yourself better at what you do so that the next person you come across, you're a better teacher. So I'm in that phase now.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that because like you said that if until you get get yourself out of the hot seat, you're just a glorified employee that's self-employed and not
Hmm.
a business owner. And I try to express this with people. So now that you are offering positions for other people for duplication, now, are you offering salaries or are you doing commission? How does that pay for your duplication look?
Okay, so that's something that I'm actually just now getting into. So understanding, 1099 employees or independent contractors, and W-2 employees are somewhat like it's night and day. So I'm still understanding that part of the process. And yeah, that is it's a lot. It's a lot, it's a lot. But it's a labor of love. And me understanding that the goal for this business is multiple locations. So these are things that I have to get done now so that when I look to go to places like Atlanta, Houston, Miami, and possibly even my hometown, is just everything's lined up, everything's in order. Structure and organization is a must. And I can't bring chaos to these things and expect them to go right. And I don't want to, leave blanks where, someone's working for me and I'm assuming that they know something. No, you don't assume, you train.
Okay, the last thing I heard you say, you don't assume, you train.
Yes, no more assuming, I train, because those assumptions are what got me into trouble in the past. Because it'll be like, oh, well, I thought you knew. Well, I didn't. I didn't know. You didn't tell me. So you can't expect me to know something that you didn't tell me. Or I may come from somewhere else doing things differently, and that's not how you want them done. You cannot correct what you did not interject. Like, if I didn't tell you that, I can't expect you to read my mind. And that's the thing. Like, when you're used to working by yourself, you know everything the way you want it done. I can't expect you to come in and do everything the way I do it if I don't show you how it needs to be done.
Okay, so so you understand that training is a big and a major key to success when you're trying to duplicate yourself.
Absolutely. It's the number one thing, because I can't expect you to do things the way I want them done if I don't tell you how I want them done. Like, it's that simple.
Now, do you find that it's harder to work with people that have experience or people that are just now coming out of school?
Well, okay. I feel like people who just came out of school are innocently hungry. They're like, I don't really understand. Like, they're bright eyed and bushy tailed. They want to learn. And, they're sometimes easier to work with because you can shape them and mold them into whatever it is you want them to be. Sometimes people who are a little more seasoned come in with, well, this is the way I'm used to doing things and this, that, or the third. So sometimes some of those habits are harder to break. Sometimes those habits are not things that should have been being done that way. And, they don't want to listen or something like that. But then, there are some people who genuinely look at you and they look up to you and they want to be a part of what you're doing. And so it's hard to say who's easier or who's harder to work with, because the people that have been drawn to me have been people who, they've seen me, they've watched my growth, and they understand where I'm coming from, and they see what I'm doing. So it's not like they're coming into a rinky dink type situation and, think that, it's just the wheels are about to fall off of this. So let me just ride it till it's done. They understand that I'm building empire that I'd like the people that are coming into to be a part of, because this is going to be a multiple location thing before I'm finished with it, like multiple states. So if you get in now, the way things are going, there's no telling where you're gonna wind up living. You may be in at the Atlanta branch, you may be at the Houston branch, you may be in the Miami branch, you may be at the Wilmington branch, or you may wind up being the head therapist here in the Charlotte branch. It just depends on, how, cohesive we are and where it goes.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, that it doesn't matter if the person has experience or not, you're looking for people that are teachable
And that's
and
the
are
number one thing.
aspiring to be better
That's
than
it.
they were.
That's it. That's all it's about. Um, I wouldn't care if somebody had 30 years of experience. If you're willing to listen and you're teachable, that's fine. Like whenever I go to these, take some of these classes, yes, some of these things are things that I'm well versed in already. But I tell them, treat me like I just came out of school and I don't know nothing, because I'm here for a reason. There's something that you have that I came here for. So don't skip steps because you think I already know. No, you may have something different from what I know. You may have something better from what I know. Like my wood therapy techniques. Some of my techniques were aggressive initially. And that was because, hey, the people that I was working with were aggressive with their techniques. Then I found out, hey, you don't have to be that aggressive with it. So me listening and being teachable is why I'm going to be a forever student. And, I'm always going to be willing to get better. So the better I am, the better teacher I am. As long as you're forever, excuse me, as long as you're a forever student, you will never fall behind. I'm never too good to go sit in whoever's classroom and learn whatever it is. I don't care if, all right, let's say you're teaching me a 10-step program and I know 8 of those steps. Those last 2 will probably be what takes me to the next level. So why would I stop my growth based on me thinking that I'm bigger and better and badder than anybody? Because I'm not.
Okay, and then you talked about classes. So do
Mhm.
you do classes locally? How do you, or are you just doing your CE classes, or are you doing additional coursework?
Oh, I'm always looking for new things to learn. Like, I know as a massage therapist, like whenever it's time for us to renew our license, we're only supposed to have on average like 24 hours of continuing education units. I never have less than like 200 hours, just because there's always something new coming out that I want to be a part of. And in the back of my head, all I hear is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Because the thing that scares me the most is someone coming in and asking me about something and I know nothing about it because I've let myself fall behind. No. So I'm always, going to different states. Like I spend a lot of time in Florida. I spend time in Texas. I spend time in California. I spend time in New York. I spend time in DC, because there's always somebody that flew somewhere else that learned something that I can learn from them.
Okay, so you are forever a student,
Hmm.
and that has helped you with your techniques so that way when you get these referrals from these doctors, this is setting you apart because knowledge, and we talk about knowledge being able, the more knowledgeable you are, the money will follow.
Absolutely. When you start doing something and you love it, the money comes. Because, as I went through the transition of these, locations, like the first place, I was like, okay, all right, this rent isn't bad. All right, but I need more space. So I went to the next location. I'm like, okay, this rent isn't bad, but I need more space. Then I went to the third location. I'm like, uh-oh, this rent's kind of high, but I needed.
So the last thing I heard when you went to your third space and the rent was kind of high,
Yeah.
what made you step up? Because that's another thing that people have a fear of. Now, if you're securing more overhead, am I really going to be able to make it? So what got you over that hurdle to say I can go in a high rent district and I'm going to make it?
Well, okay. The thing was, I always say elevation requires separation. So as I went to, places where my rent got higher and I had more space, it allowed me to do more things. So, when you're in a smaller space, you can only do like maybe 1 or 2 things. And I know some people who can utilize that small space and do 10 things. I just, it wasn't for me. So I just kept growing, kept growing, kept growing. And as my space grew, my clientele grew because my knowledge grew. So every step up, there were other steps that came with it. And, I got more confident as I continued going as well. Cause it's like, wow, uh, it was always more. I always got bigger. I always got better. The more I took on, the more I wanted to take on, the more I wanted to learn, the more I wanted to do. And I just felt like, I could spread my wings now
Now,
because there's no growth in comfort. And as long as I'm uncomfortable, I'm always going to grow.
and growth is expansion.
Absolutely.
So, how do you feel that when you went from one area to another? Because you said that that you kind of were in smaller spaces, but also in different areas, and now you're in Ballantyne, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and you started out, I think, in like University, North Charlotte area, where
Mm-hmm.
the rent was not as significant as it is in Ballantyne, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think going from North Charlotte to Ballantyne helped change your income or clientele?
Okay, so I feel like it was a combination of all things. Like, um, I have a parking lot that's more so to myself. The place I'm in now is a lot more private, so that was a big part of it as well. I've always had good clientele. It's just where I'm at now, my clientele is more exclusive to what I'm doing. Because when I first started in the first place, I was doing non-surgical body contouring, and I was doing non-surgical body contouring in the second place as well. And I got more. I was getting more serious with the post-op in the second location. Third location, it was pretty much about 95% of what I was doing. And this location, all I do is post-op. So being now that post-op is my number one focus, and I'm now within 10 to 15 minutes of about 18 of the surgeons that I work with. So me being right there in the epicenter of the plastic surgery area in the city means, the people who come to me, they're like, well, you're closer to where I live. So they don't mind. But then I have people who travel from out of state. So it wasn't, I can't even really, it was partially about the location, but it was also about my confidence because me being right here with more of the people that refer people to me made me easier for them to send more people to me, if that makes sense. So it's
Okay,
like,
so your
we've heard of her.
accessibility.
Yeah, so it's like we've heard of her, but she's kind of on the other side of town. She's kind of far away. Whereas now, like, well, she's only like 5 minutes away from, this doctor's office. So it makes me more accessible to, the clients as well.
And I'm glad you pointed that out because I try to point out the common thread, the mindset. And people don't realize that your mindset is either your biggest achiever or your biggest failure.
Mm-hmm.
And once you overcome all of the roadblocks or obstacles that your mind creates that are sometimes visible or invisible, that because you just created it in your mind, then you can achieve anything and and that's what's keeping some people from actually going to the next level.
Absolutely. I mean, the company you keep plays a big part too, because if you're around people who think small, they're going to keep you thinking small. Like, if you mention, yeah, because, I want to move, girl, I wouldn't do that. Like, that's going to be too much money. That's going to be too much money for you because you're fine where you are. Like, and a issue I ran into a couple times would be, when you're talking to people who aren't entrepreneurs about entrepreneur issues, they don't understand. So they're looking at you like, well, why don't you go get a job? That's not what I want to do. Like, and I'm not, shout out to all the 9 to 5ers. Everybody has a part to play. And, for me, I just knew that I knew what I wanted. It was just a matter of me figuring out how to get what I wanted when I wanted it. And I was willing to make the sacrifices. And, fear and faith can exist in the same space. And me understanding that it's going to be some moments that people don't understand. Like people see you and they see nice things and they don't understand those sleepless nights, the days when appointments got canceled. You're just sitting there looking at these four walls like, how am I going to pay these bills? They don't see that side of things. So now, me knowing the things I know and moving the way I'm moving is why I'm in the position that I'm in now. So when I first started, I knew that it was going to be bigger than anything I could have imagined. But did I see myself where I'm at right now? I don't know. I don't know. Like, for me to be able to go into these surgeons' offices and watch them perform surgery so I have a better understanding of these procedures, like me, 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 like I never, I didn't see that. Like I knew I was going to be big and great at it, but that level, I never imagined it. Like it is a beautiful thing. Like I sit down sometimes at night and just look at the ceiling and give thanks because I could have been in so many other places doing so many other things because some of the doors that slammed in my face at the moment, I didn't understand why they were slamming in my face, but they needed to shut in my face. Like God was saving me from me because I was trying to run things the way I wanted them ran, and He had other plans.
Now, what did you do before you got into the massage post-op world?
Okay, so I worked in clubs. I was a waitress, then I was a bartender, then I was a bar manager, then I was a general manager, and I was a part of multiple clubs for a very long time. And it's funny because I think about that all the time. Like I'd be behind the bar with my books out studying, cussing people out, and telling them, "I'll get your drink after I finish this quiz." They like, okay. So, shout out to everybody who helped me along the way, that was patient with me, that understood that, there was something that I was working towards. And I didn't really exactly understand where I was going with it. But people would tell me, "What you doing in here? You don't belong in here." I'm like, "Man, shut up." Because people saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. So I thank everyone that's been here for me along this path. And then I had people who used to push me and I didn't know where they were pushing me to, but they knew, man, this ain't for you. Like, that there's something bigger for you. Like, what are you doing here? Don't get stuck. And in my head, I was comfortable, but there's no growth in comfort. And that's what kept me where I was for so long because I was comfortable there. And once I realized, okay, you love massage, you keep coming back to it. What are you going to do with it? Like, that's where your thing is. So I tell all massage therapists that I come across, what sets you apart? Like, if you line up 10 massage therapists, why would I pick you over the person that's standing next to you? Like, what makes you different? So that's another thing, too. Like, there is no growth in comfort. And when I first came out of massage school, I was working with athletes and it was cool, but I was working really hard. Like my hands were messing up and I was like, So everything just started changing when I sat back and paid attention to, that little voice that was telling me, "All right, Melissa, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Like this isn't it." And I was ignoring it, like, "Oh God, I'm scared of what you're trying to get me to." Nope. So one day it just clicked, and everything just started coming together because I stopped fighting myself. And that's the thing. It's never about anybody else around you. It's always about you because the only thing that's ever stopping you is you. It's never anybody else. People can say whatever they want to say to you, but until you strap up those boots and you start making those moves, nothing is going to happen. So that's it. That's what started it for me.
Well, and I wanted you to, I'm glad that you were able to point out that you did a transition and you made some
Mhm.
sacrifices.
Mhm.
And everybody thinks, well, to become a business owner, you need a college degree or, to come from that background.
No.
That people need to trust their process more and knowing how things evolve and link things together to transform you into who you are and what you are to become. And what you were yesterday is not what you are today.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to speak up because the only dumb question is the one that you don't ask. Like, I talk to some very smart people, and smart people like talking to other smart people. So, I think about that a lot. Like, some of the people that I've been introduced to are people who I never ever would have had contact with. Or, I've crossed paths with them, but, if you don't have a smart conversation with smart people, they ain't gonna tell you nothing. But when you start talking and you start asking the right questions, then everything starts coming together, because smart people 9 times out of 10 want to share knowledge with other people. Like, hey, let me tell you something to help you avoid some of these bumps in the road, or give you some knowledge that no one gave me. And I appreciate that, and I pay it forward every chance I get. And sometimes, people just need encouraging words, because you're fighting those inner demons, and the only thing you're scared of is the next step that will take you to the next level. So you have to get out of your own way. And that's what happens to most people. You get in your own way. Once you're in your own way, there's nothing that's going to change that until you wake up and realize that you deserve better. And until you wake up and realize that you deserve better, no better will come your way.
So, and then I heard you say it about, having a spa in your hometown, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So, for people that is not familiar with Wilmington, North Carolina, describe Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wilmington is a beach town, and I realize people are sleeping on Wilmington. Wilmington is a very lucrative city, and they have some plastic surgeons down there that are actually doing some good work. And so, to me, I feel like, with that being where I came from, I want my footprint there. Like, I want to link in with some of the therapists that are down there, and, bringing elite bodies of work to the city, because the things that I'm learning and the people I've had access to, they may not have had access to. So whether it's me coming down there and opening a facility, or it's me coming down there and doing some training, one way or another, Wilmington, North Carolina is going to be, in my timeline.
So, what I wanted to point out was that you came to a whole different city,
Mm-hmm.
many miles away from your hometown, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this on here plenty of times before, that you that sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone, which is moving out of your city. And
Mm-hmm.
here you are from Wilmington, North Carolina, a beach town, coming to the big city of Charlotte, and
Mm-hmm.
actually making your mark in the post-op world, and people know who you are. And this is not where you were rooted or grounded. For the people that are constantly depending on their family and friends that they have known to build their business, you're in a complete world of strangers, essentially, that you've come to know. Is that a good way to put it?
Absolutely. I mean, I will say that I do have a good support group of people from Wilmington, but like you said, like, Charlotte has become my second home, and the people that I'm surrounded by now, like, my name is being spoken in rooms I haven't set foot in, and it's been times where I'll be out in public and people will see my scrubs, because yeah, I love Nike and all these other things, but elite bodies of work is what you're gonna catch me in. And it's funny how so many times I'll get a message, hey, didn't want to be a creep and say something to you. I saw your scrubs and I need some of your help. So it's neat to me that people that don't know me know me. There was one time I was actually coming back on a flight from Miami from doing some training, and there were some girls that were seated behind me, and one was talking to the other one, and she mentioned, like, well, she was coming back to Charlotte, and the girl said, well, I hope you got somebody that's going to take care of you, because I don't really think y'all got anybody up there. That girl said, I'm going to Elite Bodies of Work. And I turned around, I said, oh, you coming to see me. So it was an amazing experience. I'm like, wow, you never know. In that particular time, I did not have my scrubs on, so that made it even more fulfilling. So it's like, your name is being spoken in rooms that you haven't even set foot in, by people who don't know you but know of you. So I'm happy to be in the position that I'm in. It's been a very fulfilling thing, and to know that I built this with my two hands. I don't know what happened to Miss Erica. Um, we will see. You're muted. I can't hear you. Hold on.